More than 80% of adults and teenagers do not meet the recommended activity level for exercise. And the recommendations for activity for adults and teens are 150 minutes of mild to moderate exercise or 75 minutes of maximum exercise. So to try to, qualify that, so light intensity activities would be like walking at about 1.5 miles an hour on level ground. Moderate activity would be walking a bit faster, 3 miles per hour, calisthenics, home exercise, bicycling, and so those are activities that are recommended about 150 minutes per week. Vigorous intensity activities would be jogging, calisthenics a little harder, jumping rope, biking, things like that. So to find your target heart rate, what you want to do is take the number 220, subtract your age from it, and divide that by 0.50 for moderate activity or 0.70 for intense activity to get your target heart rate range. Let's talk a little bit about nutrient recommendations. Recommendations for protein for the average exercising individual, adult and teen, would be about 1.4 to 2.0 grams per kilogram of body weight. So 1.4 to 2.0 grams per kilogram of body weight. However, the National Association of Sports Medicine recommends 1.6 to 2.2 grams per kilogram of body weight for ideal muscle protein synthesis. You need protein for everything. Every organ in your body is made of protein. So now if you are doing really hard resistance training, you're going to take that 1.6 to 2.2 up to 2.2 to I think up to 3.5 depending on your body weight. But most of us aren't engaged at that level. Carbohydrate. Now, there's a lot of demonization of carbohydrates, and I really, really find this sad because carbs, glucose is our primary fuel for energy. It's our primary metabolic pathway, and you need to take in carbohydrates that are then stored as glycogen in our muscles and liver, and I think a little bit in the brain, for glucose metabolism. So glycogen will be turned into glucose and used along with oxygen in the mitochondria of your cell to produce ATP. ATP is then what our muscles use for energy, and all of our cells use for energy production. So, the recommendations for carbohydrate intake are 4 to 7 grams per kilogram of body weight. And that is just, like baseline. Now, and that's, also you need carbohydrates for muscle protein synthesis just as much as you need protein. You also need fat for muscle protein synthesis. Our macronutrients work syncretistically. So don't skip any of them. You need protein, you need carbohydrates, and you need fat. Now, if you are an endurance athlete, you need to take your carbohydrate intake up to 5 to 12 grams per kilogram of body weight. So if you're like running marathons, going for long hikes, long bike rides, etc., take that intake up a little higher. Fat or lipids. They should be in the range of about 20 to 35% of total daily calories. And I don't have a gram recommendation in front of me. Let's see. I think I'll try to find that. But anyway, most of that should be in mono unsaturated and polyunsaturated fat and omega-3 fatty acids. So walnuts, avocados, olive oil, olives, and fatty fish. Recommendations to prevent heart disease are to keep your dietary fat within that 20 to 35%, but to restrict saturated fat to below 6% if possible. And that's kind of hard to balance out. So you want to look for lean sources of, like, if you eat beef or chicken, as opposed to higher fat. Now, there are debates around, ketogenic diets, etc. I'm not qualified to speak on that. I think that even some of the people that were recommending those diets before are now cautioning people about it, because there is a lot of data on coronary artery disease as a result of like very high ketogenic diets. But that's all I'm going to say. You do you, sister. Or brother. I am not a dietitian. I just know that my own experience has been that I do not do well if I do an extreme low carb diet. I really don't do well with that. But everyone's different, and you got to kind of find the balance. And I recommend working with a registered dietitian. And even if you want to do a specialized diet to address particular metabolic needs, they should be qualified to assist you with that. But I'm going to go with the recommendations. So your carbohydrate recommendation is, I believe, 40 to 65% of your dietary intake in calories should be carbs, then protein, and then fat, in that order. Now, some of us might want to do a little more protein, and I find it challenging to get that in, but the recommendation for protein being 1.6 to 2.2 grams per kilogram of body weight, just to reiterate, as an ideal for muscle protein synthesis, would down to about 80 to 100 grams for a woman my size. So you want to break that up throughout the day. So for instance, 20 to 40 grams per meal of protein, depending on your body size. Then, just calculate according to your body weight for carbohydrates and fats, and see how you feel. I am having a little bit of bloating currently, and I think it's because I'm taking creatine. Now, creatine is evidence-based as an optimizer of muscle protein synthesis due to its role in the glycolytic pathway, the creatine kinase pathway. So when the ATP CP, creatine phosphate, I believe, pathway. So anyway, I'll talk about that when I know a little bit more and gather some information on creatine. But I was taking it every day for a while. I think it's causing me to hold on to a lot of water weight and bloat a little bit. But it's helping me get a little bit more out of my HIIT workout, which is the high intensity interval training that you'll see me do on the bike. Now, when I'm on the bike, what I do is I have it at maximum resistance. So it looks like I'm going pretty slow. I'm pushing as hard as I can, but that resistance is very high. Then I turn it down, but I try to do 30 to 60 seconds on the bike. Then I get off and I run up and down the stairs a couple of times, and then I will do some squats, some weighted squats. And I do that anywhere from 2 to 4 times, depending on my energy. And I do think, I don't know if this is placebo in terms of its short-term effect, but I do think the mornings that I use my creatine now, I get a better workout. But I have cut back on the creatine just because it's affecting my digestion, and I think it's causing me to be a little bloated. So, yeah, I just wanted to go over that. Let's all get out there, let's all move, and let's all take in all of the beautiful bounty of like whole grain carbohydrates, complex carbohydrates, fiber, which you need for your gut microbiome and to create butyric acid, which then gives you the healthy cholesterol that you need for heart health. Also, your protein, a little bit of fat because you need that as well, and movement. Just keep moving, sister.